Hello, welcome back to Shoogly Shed Motors. I'm Ewan. This episode is about the Royal Enfield Continental GT535 that you can see behind me and the first upgrade I want to do to it. If you watched the last episode, you'll have seen that it had panniers on it. I've now removed those. Probably not going to need them, and actually I prefer the look of the bike without them on. So that has been the first thing I've done. The next thing I want to do is have a look at switching the handlebars out. But before we get started on that, don't know if you can tell, but the bike is pretty grubby. So hoping to get it down off the lift, out into the drive and give it a good wash before we get started working on it. Well, that's looking much shinier. A word of caution about using a jet wash on motorbikes. They're powerful. This one isn't that powerful. It's like 100 bar or something like that, which isn't as powerful as they can get. Either way, don't point it directly into things like air filters, rubber seals, gaskets, stuff like that. You're just basically putting that gasket or seal to the test, and if you get water past it, you could cause yourself some issues. Also with older classic bikes, just wouldn't go near it with a jet wash, just because old gaskets and old seals and stuff aren't quite up to the spec that they are now. So just nice soapy water is probably all you need for that. This is only a 2018 bike, so it's quite new, so I wasn't too concerned about going over it with the jet wash, just to make my life a little bit easier. So let's get packed up and get the bike back into the shed. Cool, so now the bike's a bit cleaner, should be a bit easier to work on, a little less messy. First thing I want to do is take this screen off. I get the point of screens, mini screens like this, just to break away a little bit of that wind buffeting, but purely aesthetically, I hate it, so it's coming off. Doesn't that just look 10 times better already? I hate screens. The next upgrade is going to be riser bars. I like the aesthetic of the clip-ons, I just don't think they're very comfortable. So on these bikes, it's not just as straightforward as taking the clip-ons off and bolting risers to it, because as you can see, the top yoke doesn't have holes for risers to go on. So you have to get a bit more creative with that. And that's where these come into play. So I picked these up on eBay. I think they were off some kind of Street Fighter, but basically the idea is these will go on top of the fork tubes like that, replacing the clip-ons, and they'll come across like that. There'll be the other one there, and that will allow you to bolt riser bars directly across the bike like that. So first up, I want to clean these up to raw aluminium, because the rest of the parts are raw aluminium and I want it to match. Right, that's the clamps cleaned up. I haven't quite managed to get all the paint in there, but you won't see it because that's where the bars go. So next up is to take off the clip-ons and the throttle body, switch gears, brake clutch levers, and wing mirrors. Okay, that's them off. Next thing to do is to fit these risers. I'm just going to put a very light smear of grease and slide them on, and then do a pinch bolt through there. This is as far as I can get today because I'm still waiting on the handlebars arriving, and I also need to find a set of top clamps, top caps to go on the top of the bars, because when I got these on eBay they didn't come with any. So I think they're pretty generic size. I'll measure them up and order some of them. I also need to order new wing mirrors because the little bar end ones don't really suit it, and not only that, but they are pretty tatty anyway, so I'm going to get rid of them, order some new ones, and hopefully when this all goes together it's going to be looking much smarter. Just what the doctor ordered: bars and clamps. They actually took a frustrating amount of time to arrive, those bars, but they're here now. I'll give you a little bit more detailed shots of them and talk you through what they are, because I get a lot of questions about what bars I use. Basically they're essentially knockoff Renthals. They're made of 6061 aluminium, something like that anyway. They're really thick walls. You got the knurled parts in the middle, and they're sort of black shot peen finish as well. They're really good value. These are about 20 quid, where the Renthals are about 40 or 50, something like that. So, you know, for if you're on a budget, these, you can't really go wrong with these, to be honest. I've got them on a couple of my other bikes, and so far they've been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, recommend these. I'll stick a link in the description to the eBay link for the UK, but I'm sure you can find them if you're abroad as well. I'm sure there are suppliers elsewhere. So without further ado, let's get on with putting the new handlebars onto the clamps that we installed last time, and then putting the clamps on top, the new clamps, and then getting the controls onto the bars. I have done a how-to on how to switch out handlebars on a motorbike before that covers quite a lot of the finer details, so if you're interested I shall chuck a little thing up here so you can check it out. But anyway, I'm going to stick this on a time lapse and you can see what the bars look like on the bike. Here we go. Riser handlebars. I think they look pretty good. I had a bit of fiddling under here, and the other control is a little metal dowel. It's quite common on these on controls to keep them from spinning. I basically filed them off. The alternative is to drill a hole for that dowel to slot into on your handlebar. Number one, you risk drilling that hole incorrectly and having to drill it again. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And number two, these are aluminium handlebars and I don't really want to start putting holes in them. There's potential for causing a weakness point. So what I opt to do is file them right down until there's just a nub left, and when you tighten it down, that nub just sort of grips the aluminium quite well, and they're not going anywhere. They're absolutely solid. So aside from that, that's them all bolted up.
The next thing to do is to fit wing mirrors to it. Obviously the previous ones were these sort of, I think they had little sort of fashion ones on. Fashion's the word I was looking for. Fashion ones. And I'm going for a similar style but little circular ones, and I'm hoping to try and fit them underslung, kind of like my XS over there, and also what I did on the GS. So it takes a bit of fiddling, but that's my next job. So this is what I've come up with. These started out life as Chinese bar end mirrors that are meant to go into the bar like that. The problem with these is they extend your bar massively by like 5 inches, which if you're driving in traffic is a total pain. You'd be clipping these left, right and centre. So I've never really liked that style. So I have utilised these before, as you can see, on the XS. And essentially what I've done is unbolted them from here, and then I've actually drilled holes in the controls on this and dropped bolts through that these are bolted into. You can just kind of see under there. But I wanted to go for something a little bit different on this one, so this is what I've come up with. Essentially, I have cut the bottom part, that part there, off these brackets, drilled a hole, tapped it, and then bolted it on upside down, and you get that sort of underslung bar end mirror effect. And I'll show you exactly what I did now. So first of all, I cut off the part of the bracket that I didn't need. Then I drilled a hole for an M6 tap, tapped it, threaded a bolt into that hole, cut off the bolt at the right length, threaded a nut onto that bolt just so I could lock the wing mirror in the right place, screwed all that together, bolted it onto the handlebars, and hey presto. But hey, as far as switching handlebars out on a bike goes, that was fairly straightforward. I have come across fairly bigger obstacles when switching out handlebars on other bikes. But, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, that's a really good upgrade for this bike, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it feels like actually in the ride. Just being sat up on it on the bench here, it feels really comfortable. So yeah, I think it's going to be better. So I've got a couple more things I want to do to this bike before we get it MOT'd and insured for Mrs. Shoogly. Her first big bike. Super excited to get her out on the road and go for a wee ride together. It's got a flat tyre because I pushed the bike over a nail getting into the shed, but luckily they're tubed tyres, so I've got a spare tube to switch out. It did have a broken spoke on the back, but I have since bought and replaced that. The other thing to fix is there's like a sort of pair system, I think it's a scavenging system that has been bypassed. There's a little unit under here that these pipes are meant to go into, but instead they're all sort of going into themselves. So I need to figure out what the routing is for that and return that to normal. Aside from that, once that's done, I think the bike should be good for an MOT and to get it out on the road. So yeah, I'm excited for that. One other thing that's worth mentioning is the bike had an engine warning light come up, and I have picked up this, which is a code reader and also an adapter, because these bikes very conveniently have a plug under the seat that you can plug this into and check what the error was. It came up and then went away again, so I just want to double check what that was, if it was just a fluke. I did have the tank off and on again So I don't know if I maybe disturbed a sensor somewhere, but I just want to just double check what that was before I get the bike out on the road. I'm actually going to do a little short video on that adapter because it might be of interest to people with Enfields. It's a little bit of a workaround, but it appears to work on this bike, so I'll do a little video walkthrough on that at some point. Anyway, I feel like I've talked enough. It's 9:25 on a Tuesday evening. God, it's just after Christmas and it feels like the days have all melted into each other. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but yeah. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, please do like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. I really appreciate the support over the past year, and hopefully I'll continue to build the channel in 2022. I've got some exciting plans, so do stick around for them. Anyway, Happy New Year, and I hope that 2022 isn't as much of a shit show as the last couple of years. Anyway, peace out, cheers, I'm going to bed.